Stevie, what are you doing? Come on, what are you... There was this time, like, where everybody was flipping their houses. Like, homeowners would be, gutting their houses and, like, tearing them up and then trying to flip it and sell it. Like, it was almost like the gold rush or something, There was pretty much work everywhere. In Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda, like, it took a while, for them to, to get their roofs back on from Hurricane Charlie. Then they would have to, put all the drywall back and stuff like that. And then by the time I went back there, then, people were hiring me to, like, do the trim in their house, reinstall the doors and stuff like that. So at that time, there was a ton of work. There was work everywhere. My brother was actually flipping a house across the street from his house. He had an investor friend that had a son who was also flipping a house. They gutted their house and tore everything apart, and then they were stuck. They didn't know what to do at that point. So I helped them, put it back together. That house, I wasn't living in that house when I started it. And then I wound up moving into that house we were flipping. We were working for a while, but then something happened, and then they ran out of money. So I made a deal with them, that once they sold the house, then they would pay me, once the house sold, and I was okay with that. But I still needed income, so I got another job. I was doing, like the trim molding in like these mansions. It was difficult because it was just nonstop work. I mean, I would wake up, 5 in the morning, go to work, get off around 3:30, come home, drink some coffee, practice my guitar, and then work on that house. And I did that for, I don't know, a couple of months. It might have been longer than that. It could have been up to a year. The only thing I had was my guitar and my little amp. And that was the only thing I did for fun at that time. But I had these long jam sessions where I would just play whatever, and that's where I got a lot of the parts, or most of the parts for, the album for Walk to the Light. And a friend of mine, the guy that got me to Florida to begin with, he had a house, and I would stay there. But the house he had, like, they didn't really have any furniture, so it was like, I kind of chose to, just stay in a motel, because I would go down to Port Charlotte and stay in a motel, and I'd come back to Tampa and stay in a motel, and just back and forth, I was stable as far as money was concerned, because there was work everywhere, and if it wasn't in Tampa, it was in Port Charlotte, and I would just constantly work. So I wasn't struggling in that part of it. It was a struggle because I had no place to call home. Once they had an offer, and then the house was on contract, I had to move out of that house. So I moved back to Port Charlotte. I just did some jobs over there, and then finally they sold that house, and I finally got paid from that. That's kind of when I actually started recording at the studio in Northport for, Walk to the Light. A friend of mine, his wife, had this business cleaning people's houses. She had a lot of clients or contracts in this little retirement community. It was like a mobile home park. She told her husband, and her husband told me that there was some lady that, needed some help, So I developed this relationship with this old lady. I would help her run her yard, or I would help her take out her trash, or, I'd been there for a while, and I'd pretty much finished recording Walk to the Light. Right when I was about to leave, I got this phone call from that lady. She was like, "Can you come over and help me?" And so I go over there, and she wanted me to hand me trash bags all day and then, like, throw them in this dumpster. And I was like, "Well, what's going on, And she was like, "Well, the other day I fell and I couldn't get up, and I had to call the fire department. The fire department had to, break the door in. Anyways, while they were there, they realized that the lady was a hoarder. and she had like, boxes and just junk and just stuff everywhere. They told her that if you don't get this place cleaned up, we're going to have this place condemned. So she called me, and I kind of came to the rescue. And so I would literally just like sit on the back patio and wait for her to like hand me trash bags full of trash. Like every 30 minutes to an hour, she would bring me a trash bag. I would literally just sit out on the back porch and wait for her to open the door and put a trash bag outside. The retirement community gave her this little dumpster, and they pulled a dumpster like right by her patio, so I was able to just kind of just throw it into the dumpster. For the first few days or something, she wouldn't even let me in her house because I guess she was just so embarrassed. She didn't want me to see what was in her house. But finally, she got to the point to where, she would let me in. And then when I went in, I realized, wow, this lady really is a hoarder, Well, the master bedroom was, just totally filled to the ceiling with boxes, and like you couldn't even walk in there. But she had this little bathroom in the back. I guess she used to wear like those adult diapers. I don't know, but she would like put them in these trash bags. But she had like this little shower, and it overflowed, and it flooded out the room. All that water got into those trash bags with the adult diapers in it, and so there was like shit water, like just tea all over the floor, and had to clean all that stuff up. And then after that, there was a lot of mold on the carpet and stuff from the water damage. Once I knew that there was mold in there, it wasn't really safe for her to stay in there. So she had a niece that had moved into the community. She went and stayed with her, but during that time, I stayed there while I was working there on that house. Once I tore out the drywall and the carpet and everything, there was black mold everywhere. There was like black mold, green mold, yellow mold, white mold. There was even this mold or bacteria that actually ate like, fiberglass insulation, like literally ate it. Anyways, I wound up, getting like extremely sick. Like, I've never been that sick. I was vomiting for days, and then I got like into my nervous system, and then like I got this problem where like I was just like so nervous I couldn't even like go outside or do anything or go anywhere. But anyways, I wound up getting so sick that I couldn't work there. I couldn't be in there. And then I moved in with her to her niece's mobile home, and then just trying to recover. She also had this problem where she would go like throw all these parties and stuff and at the clubhouse, and try to like have all these big things with her friends at the retirement community. And then she came to me and then she told me that she was broke, so she had pretty much blown through all of her insurance money. So I was, at that point, I was pretty much stuck because like I didn't have any money. I was still violently sick. She knew that I had the black mold poisoning. I don't think she wanted to believe it. Her and her niece, started to treat me like I was just, making it up. Like I was doing something wrong. Like, I definitely didn't feel good about it. I was just trying to help the lady, And I had to call my brother. Like, he came down with a trailer, and we put all my tools and music equipment and that, and then I followed him back, to his house, and I moved in with him. I couldn't go to the store, I couldn't go anywhere. I just didn't even want to go outside. Like, it was just my nerves. It was just so bad. The only way I can describe the way it felt inside is, like when you give a rat poison, and you see them, sitting there all like shaking and trembling, and that's what it felt like. Like it never ended. Like a non-stop panic attack. like just nonstop. It's like the fear of nothing. Like our hands would be would start sweating, and like I would start sweating, my heart would pound, and like that kind of stayed with me for months after that happened, and it was still like linger around for like a couple of years. Stuff's bad stuff. Black mold. I had just about finished my album, Walk to the Light. I just wanted to, fix a couple of things on it. I was too nervous now to like drive back to Northport to go to that studio to work on it, so I had to look around in Tampa to find a studio. I found a guy that owned the studio. Just the kind of guy that just rubs you the wrong way, like right when you. Anyways, I tried to have a session with him, but it just wasn't clicking. So I saw another ad on Craigslist for a producer in Tampa, so I called it. I set up a meeting with him, and his name was Gary, and we started to work with me on a couple things, and that studio just happened to only be like like a mile from where my brother lives, so my nerves are starting to calm down. So I would have sessions with him, and I started writing another song that wasn't even part of the album Walk Through the Light. I mean, I started to get kind of a weird vibe, like from day one. Like like when I was in Northport, I mean, I would book a session. You go in there 8 hours straight. I mean, no playing around, straight recording, straight business. I would, when I went over to the studio, they're like talking on the phone, playing with the computer, messing with this, messing with gear. Like it was just constant distractions and nothing getting done. And like, like an hour would go into the session, and my girlfriend called, I gotta go. And like, I was used to like, going to a studio, sitting down, and you're just like in the zone, and like just 100% focused. The engineer's focused. I mean, that's kind of when I started to get a taste, of what was in store for me there.